Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalrin, and in today's video I want to do an impromptu kind of just rant on the 4-piece, 2-piece set bonuses and the fact that Blizzard is thinking of removing them completely altogether in the next expansion. I'm not somebody who's done a lot of extensive PvE in any expansion besides Legion. This is probably the most amount of PvE I have done, and I'm not 9 out of 9 Mythic on TOS either, but I've been doing a lot of PvE. I actually like the content from Mythic Plus to the Mage Tower challenges that I was able to do once and probably never do Agatha one ever again. And then the rest of the time I spent doing PvP on my Outlaw Rogue, playing left and right, arenas, BGs, duels, whatever. And one of the things that Blizzard wants to do in the next expansion is remove 2-piece and 4-piece set bonuses. This is primarily a PvE move, but kind of sucks for PvPers as well. This could be either a really good move or a really bad one, and I think it's one of those things where Blizzard is asking to change something that probably does not need to go. It's not a system that people just hate. Oh, the 2-piece, 4-piece set bonuses. This has been one of those changes that I think is going to be unnecessary. Just such a foreign change to a core system of a game for the longest time. Now, this is going to solve a few issues. One thing it's going to do is disgruntle the fans, because people have been using 2-piece and 4-piece set bonuses for the longest time. You would try to get your gear based on 2-piece, 4-piece set bonuses. You might even have 2 pieces for a 1-tier set bonus, and then 2-piece and a 4-piece for another set, like we've seen in Legion. There's a lot of these combinations of pieces of gear for somebody who can min-max. It's a lot of one of these meticulous things that somebody can go through previous raids of the same expansion and try to get them down on Heroic or Mythic, I guess in this case, and try to see if you can get a better upgrade and then combine yourself into some interesting playstyle. It's one of those things where a player can just keep growing exponentially forever, and sometimes even outside of what Blizzard expected for an average player to do, which I think is awesome. It's one of the systems that's just been in the game. It's like, let's say we were to remove the one of the most integral parts of the game, like for example the healing DPS tank trifecta. Everybody has some sort of a defensive ability, and everybody and a boss just goes in like a duck goose, just attacking everyone. You have a damage ability, healing ability, defensive ability. No tank, no nothing. It would be one of those things that's just unnecessary. When we saw the artifact weapon inclusion in the game, a lot of people thought, okay, so we'll never just be able to change our weapons, and there was an issue with the whole, oh, we're gonna wear same weapons all the time, there's no need to change weapons. Oh, some people are getting Ashbringer while others are getting some random weapon that nobody ever heard about. I feel like it's just one of those things where they're trying to do a similar thing with gear on more than one level. The artifact gear, or I guess the Azerite gear, and how your necklace will function with your Azerite pieces of gear, that you'll be able to select your own basically set bonuses and abilities. In terms of like a legendary would change your playstyle, and like a 2-piece or a 4-piece would change your playstyle as well. Your Azerite gear and Azerite necklace and the Azerite system is going to be determining how you build yourself to give you more customizability. One of the good things about that system is there's no RNG, so you'll be able to pre-plan exactly how you want to play yourself. And once we get more of that database into Wowhead, people will be able to use different tools, like an Azerite gear calculator, probably of some sort, to slot in the pieces of gear that they will eventually get and decide how they want to build themselves ahead of time, to take a look at some of the bonuses and start theory crafting right away. First of all, that is, I guess, a nice way to give players a lot of control over what they want to do, and I feel like it's about time. But at this point, you're also just trying to remove 2-piece, 4-piece set bonuses, which are so integral, and you're kind of linking all that to the Azerite gear. The Azerite gear is something we're going to have to farm, like honor points. So you're basically saying that people will have to farm this resource to unlock the choice of their 2-piece and 4-piece set bonuses, in a way. That is going to be something that is going to have a wall behind it. I don't know if they understand that that's kind of what they're doing. The legendaries that we get as an RNG is already discordantly, because once you get it, oh man, I got this legendary, it's Pride as. And yes, while they have a lot more buff stats, not every single class and spec can utilize every single legendary. I'm an Outlaw Rogue, and most of these legendaries don't come with a ton of versatility. If they did, I'd be doing a hell of a lot more damage, but I guess as long as they sit as a Subtlety or Assassination, which Blizzard is probably expecting for most rogues to be playing that spec anyway, then I can actually use Mastery, Crit, and Haste and such, but too bad not much versatility, which means there's other classes that have certain stats and they just cannot get it from those pieces of legendaries. But that system is being removed, and parts of that system, like the playstyle changes of some of the legendaries, which I think is cool, but also somewhat feels integral to some of the specializations, is getting added to Azerite gear. But you're also given that same system of choice added together with the artifact pet weapon point system, which is a grind. A lot of people to unlock all their basics, even just to play a class, a specialization, like a normal human being, way back before they kept increasing the research up and up and up and up and up. Back then, people had to really grind out those pieces of gear, and it still is a grind now. There is a soft cap up to getting your weapon to 75, so you can finally unlock a second trait to all 3 of your relics. And that's like the soft cap now. A lot of people are still striving for it, but you basically are making the system where it's back to the grind. A lot of people didn't like the artifact power grind, and a lot of people will say you don't really care about it. As most people, there's some people that were like, yes, this is cool, this is great, it's a good system, and it is a good system where you can exponentially keep growing, but there's also a soft cap to a lot of these issues. The issues is you got to get yourself to a certain cap, like to the first concordance, to like now a 10 concordance, to then now it's going to be like 20 or some concordance, before you can really just stop and feel like, okay, I am at a soft cap, I'm at a good level, I'm on the same level as everybody else. Because it's really just a mindless grind. It's not something you earn, it's not something you work for, it's just something you gotta run dungeons over and over and over again. It's something you have to do your world quest over and over and over again. And a lot of people just felt like, oh man, I really don't feel like seeing this, you know, these numbers that are going into millions and billions and probably going to be hitting trillions very, very soon. To just see these numbers go up and up and up, it just seems daunting. I don't know how they're going to do exactly with the Azeroth system. What they said before is they want to kind of make the numbers more sane instead of us going into thousands and hundred thousands and millions and billions. Instead, they just want to increase or decrease how much Azeroth power you need in order to get a next rank to like an Azeroth weapon or Azeroth armor pieces, to be able to unlock a next slot for you to customize in. It'll decrease just how much Azeroth you need every single time, instead of adding like a multiplier mechanic. Again, you're adding a system where you basically are saying that 2-piece and 4-piece bonuses, mostly PvE, and I haven't even talked about the PvP part, are going to be locked to a grindy system. I'm not sure how I feel about it, and I'm not sure how the community is going to respond. It's really a question of, can Blizzard pull it off right? Because if it feels too grindy, it's not that fun. I feel like a lot of people will say, it's basically artifact power. I don't feel like doing it all over again, because I've done it a whole expansion just to get my 2-piece and 4-piece set bonuses? Are you kidding me? Or I guess the quote-unquote 2-piece, 4-piece set bonuses that they're basically trying to work with, instead of just earning them. I mean, it's basic. I can't tell if it's one of those things that's making the system easier, right? So it's, you know, more player control. It's maybe just about the same amount of time taken to acquire, and anybody can do it at any moment, so you don't have to be like one of the best raiders in order to finally get into a raid group, even though LFG does exist. So I don't know if it's one of the systems where it gets easier to do what you were trying to do, or it's more complicated than it needs to be. And I guess that's kind of where I'm on the fence on the whole thing. It depends how Blizzard approaches the situation. I don't want to be one of those guys that starts naysaying left and right, but damn, does this sound complicated and just almost unnecessary to me. Another part, which quick, it's, does this apply for PvP? Because they basically took out the idea of gear meaning anything for PvP except for an item level, which redistributes the stats anyway. For 2-piece and 4-piece set bonuses, PvPers have been asking for like, hey, can we get those back? Because it makes gear more important. Getting those pieces of gear to use into your, I guess, PvP prowess is interesting. And while you can't, let's say, reforge gear now, at least people, what they could do at the time is select what kind of gear they wanted. Hey, I decided I'll give up my 4-piece, which does give me a 2-hander bonus as a Frost DK, for more haste and versatility, which allows me to have 2 1-handers instead of a dual-wielding 2-hander. So it gives you options in a way. I wonder if Blizzard will eventually go back to that kind of system and will allow players to be able to kind of choose what they want to play, choose what they want to run with, and choose, I guess, the systems that they want to pursue in terms of customization of a character. And it seems like they are trying to push more player-driven customization and choice into gear. But removing the 2-piece and 4-piece set bonuses idea basically just says for PvP, yeah, we're not getting those back. I actually would want to see the Azeroth gear actually being somewhat useful for PvP in one end or another. Maybe even if we had like more mobility, some abilities have like a leech effect to it, something that can be used differently than PvE, where we're just trying to find the most amount of damage that we can deal to a train dummy, and just find a ways to maybe apply that for PvP as well, so we can bring the player customizability. Because in PvP, besides the honor talents, which are not really getting slaughtered out a hell of a lot, there's not a lot of various builds for some of the classes and specs to run. There's not a lot of customizability, and I think a lot of people want that, to be able to choose what gear you want, to have the feeling of the choice actually affects you. Because a lot of people end up grinding out a lot of PvP gear and looking for the highest item level, but if they try to do any PvE, they quickly realize, oh, my stats are all wrong, I do no damage, or I do damage equal to somebody who's brand new at the game. Wow, wonderful. I just feel like it's just not coherent together, and maybe it could be used for different customization purposes, especially for PvP. But that's just my rant. Sorry it's a bit long. I just thought I should comment on it. I kind of miss 2-piece and 4-piece set bonuses for PvP personally. I'd love to see them happen, and maybe this whole system to be applied for PvP as well. In terms of PvE, I just think it's one of those systems, as a TLDR, that I think is just unnecessary change. It might be better, it might be for the worse, but it's kind of up in the air, and I can't really tell if this is going to be one of those things that'll make the game more simple and the community will have a good reception to it, or it'll be one of those things that's actually overcomplicated things, even though it tried to simplify and try to give player more control and instead made the player more confused. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I just kind of want to comment on it because this is one of those things where it's like, oh man, I never going to see my 4-piece, 2-piece bonuses again, and I miss them. I really do miss them. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see all of you in the next one.